And I agree. Andrew, from the moment they are together in every scene, I was paying way more attention to Andrew Garfield than I was anyone else, because those little things that aren't necessarily the speaking moments or the moments that grab your attention is what makes him such a fun version of Peter Parker, because he's just kind of like wacky. Like Tobey Maguire is the kind of mature, nerdy, soft-spoken, keeps to himself one. Andrew Garfield is kind of like the keeps to himself, but he's kind of crazy and like fun type of one. And then Tom Holland is like a good in between. And it just makes Andrew Garfield lots of fun to watch.
I have a theory about the Ned line. I think that's actually foreshadowing. I'm kind of going to jump to explain this, but because he's brainwashed and, well, technically brainwashed, like the character I'm going to talk about, he doesn't know Peter Parker. They set up that he has this new power with magic. I think he turns into Hobgoblin some point in the future. I think that line could easily be foreshadowing. I'm not gonna try and kill you in the future because you're my friend, but now you're no longer my friend because I don't know you.
Yeah, I mean, well, certainly there's been, I think, some rumors about, where Ned will go in this series, but I did see that as, foreshadowing myself with, okay, what does that mean? Because it seemed like maybe they're going one direction with Ned being able to wield magic, because Doctor Strange certainly seems, surprised that he was able to do that. But it will be interesting to see like where these characters go given the end of this movie. But jumping back a little bit too, Harrison, you said, you're captivated towards Garfield when all three of them are on the screen. And I'm right there with you. I am leaning towards Garfield, just how well he is and how good of an actor he is. Because when he is talking about Gwen, and like, again, that's another scene where I just got like a lump in my throat where he's talking about losing her and not being able to forgive himself. And she was my MJ. Like, his performance, like, I swear to God, you would think that like Andrew Garfield in real life, like, he lost Gwen Stacy in real life. Like, he's not talking as Peter Parker. He's talking about a real life situation where he like lost somebody. Like, it's unbelievable how well he acts those scenes.
Agreed. I love his performances. Andrew Garfield is fantastic. If any listener wants a great Andrew Garfield performance that's actually super recent, came out just last month in November, or maybe it was this month. Either way, Tick, Tick, Boom on Netflix. It's a musical with Andrew Garfield. Fantastic performance from him. But back to Spider-Man. Yeah, I agree. I mean, his emotional performances, I think, is what solidifies it for me and makes we talked about Aunt May. We talked about the responsibility that this Peter Parker in the MCU is finally under. And while those are all well and great, and I appreciate the film for doing that, the thing that makes it solidify, the thing that makes it last for me is all Andrew Garfield. From the moment he talks about losing Gwen, from when he catches MJ, the end of the film, the entire thing, I felt like the emotional power behind the film, or the emotional force of the film, gained power from Andrew Garfield's performance.
Yeah, we'll get to MJ in a second, because before that happens, again, some more classic callbacks. Toby and Andrew, as their respective Peter Parkers are sitting there, we get, Toby Spider-Man stretching out his back, and he's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, my back," which is, a callback to Spider-Man 2 when he falls, and he's like, "My back!
It's even better because Toby genuinely injured his back. Filming Spider-Man. Like, it's metatextually funny too.
Right. You get that scene, and then you still get, like, they're still just insanely curious about the organic webs, and just, Tom Holland's Peter Parker going, "So is it just your wrists, or like, does it come out anywhere else?" And he's like, "Nope, just my wrists." But also Andrew asking him about it and him being like, "Are you making fun?" He's like, "No, that's really convenient. Like, I get web block. Like, do you ever get web block? And oh yeah, existential crisis when he doesn't want to be Spider-Man in 2 and he can't shoot his webs. Like, that's one of the things that I've been reading since this movie came out, is how they convinced these guys to come back, because they wouldn't let them read the script. They were, hey, how would you feel about doing this? And they wanted to read it, and they're like, well, no, we can't. Like, we can't let you read the script right now before you come back. But just, from what I have read, the passion behind, Amy Pascal talking with Andrew, talking with Toby, and what they wanted to do, it really shows with just the lines that they used in this movie. They really did, not only did they want to make this, a Tom Holland movie and really propel him, as Spider-Man, you can tell they really did want to, in a way, thank and honor Harrison, like you said, Toby and Andrew, for what they brought to the character, and really like show them respect for what they did.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in that same scene. I love when Andrew Garfield's version kind of expresses some doubt in himself, and the wise, more mature, more adult Tobey Maguire says, "No, you are amazing. You are the amazing Spider-Man." It was metatextually funny, but also like it was very sincere.
Right.
That not just in the context of like their films, but again, at a meta level, like this is the Spider-Man that struggles to believe in himself because of the reception that these films had. And the one kind of the OG who has that kind of age type respect is like, no, you're great. It was just a lot of fun. And the entire thing, as much as I'm sure, this is the cynical part of me coming out, I'm sure part of the reason that they're back is because you got a big paycheck. But that aside, everything in it, from the way that they're written, from the way they're performed, just genuinely feels like, hey, Spider-Man's an awesome character. We all love Spider-Man. Hey, let's make a movie where we just have a lot of fun with Spider-Man. And who's going to complain about that?
I feel like someone felt bad for how Andrew left the Spider-Man role, because they give a lot of this movie is also a send-off to him. Like, we'll talk about it later and what is my favorite scene, but like they really like they give him the proper send-off he deserved.
Yeah, I think they really did. It feels like they really did focus on, and maybe it's not what their intention was, and maybe it is Andrew Harrison, you've talked about this, his performance that just leaps off the screen. But I think the biggest reaction in the theater, and it's so funny that they did this, because again, you can see it as like, oh, it's predictable, or that's really weird that that they would choose to go that route. But I think the biggest reaction in mine and Brandon's theater is they're in the fight, MJ falls, Peter dives to grab her, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, Goblin comes in and knocks him out of the way, and Andrew Garfield jumps down to save her. And when he like actually saves her and lands, again, I think it was the biggest eruption in the theater for the entire movie. Like, our theater I went nuts. Like, our theater, it was like Buffalo either just won the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup, for God's sakes. Like, our theater absolutely erupted with cheers. And I welled up again because of the fact that he's like, "Are you okay?" And she says yes. And just like his look that he was able to do this so that this Peter Parker would not have to suffer what he suffered. And, bringing, I'm sure he's still torn up over the death of Gwen. But again, Andrew's performance, the emotion in his face that he was able to save her. I absolutely love this scene. I had tears again. I will admit it when this happened, but Brandon, I'll let you go first. But man, I could go back and watch that movie just for that scene alone.
This is my favorite scene in the entire movie, because, like I said, it's such a good send off to Andrew Garfield's Spider Man, and it's just like Andrew works his butt off, like the way he holds MJ, like the way he looks, what he says, like it feels like after all these years, he finally like can be like with himself finally with MJ's death. Like at one point, he finally saved. It might not be his, but finally a MJ, and it's so good because it's just after all these years and it's such a good payoff.
Harrison, where do you stand on that scene?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it. I mean, it was going to happen. We all knew it was. We knew it was in the trailer. Who didn't? And it. Why not? It was a good send off.
Yeah, I mean, again, the sign of a good movie is, we saw the scene in the trailer with her falling, but it didn't make it any less impactful. And, you really could have sat there and thought, like, okay, if you weren't, one of these cynical people, like, there's no way these two are not in the movie. Like, there would be like a backlash of epic proportions if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield never showed up in this movie. So, it would make sense, maybe if you're just sitting there going, okay, based on the trailer, he would get a redemption arc, he would get redemption to be able to save her. But it did not make it any less impactful that he was able to save her. I will say too, again, just incorporating humor, always what it seems like at the right time when they're first trying to fight these. This is backtracking a little bit. When they're first trying to fight Lizard, Sandman, and Electro, and they're not in sync because Spider-Man is really used to working alone. He's like, I know, we suck at this. Like, I'm not used to working as a team. He's like, I thought you were Peter number 2. Like, what? I'm not number 2. But Tom Holland is, well, I do know how to work in a team. I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers. And he's like, you were in the Avengers? That's great. Who are they? It's like, is that a band? Were you in a band? No, it's Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like, again, they're fighting to send these guys back and save them, and they're getting their butts kicked. But this movie balanced it again so well with incorporating, like, yeah, these, Peter Parker jokes during fights. He makes quips. And this, all three of them together, it works so well. It's so well done with how they can bounce the tone.
I completely agree. That is one of my favorite moments in the entire film. I wouldn't necessarily say my favorite scene, but a moment that I love was just that good amount of humor. And then right after that, how they start to work together and how rewarding it is, and they're swinging in sync, and also showing each of them their unique moves they had as Spider-Man. Like, it shows Tobey pulling on his webs and like slingshotting himself like he does in the films. It was just like, yes, I love Spider-Man, and I'm just in a theater right now loving Spider-Man in every way that means.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Their web swinging, they make it, like, if you really watch and look at the detail, Tobey swings like Tobey from his movies. Andrew swings and moves like Andrew from his movies. And of course, Tom, has had his 3 movies of how he moves like Spider-Man. But again, they do a really good job of distinguishing how the 3 of them moved in their movies as Spider-Man to make it very distinguished that although they're all Peter Parker, they are very different in their styles as Spider-Man.
Yeah, that they do work. And when they finally learn to work together, they work really well. The entire fight's done amazing. That might be my favorite at that point. Because then you got like Electro, Lizard, and Sandman, and they're all kind of like they're switching. They're switching targets.
Yeah, and they got some callbacks. They certainly have some callbacks in there when Lizard runs through the portal. It's really reminiscent of the Amazing Spider-Man 1 when he's fighting Spider-Man in the school and tearing through like the library. There's a nice little callback there. Certainly there's the scene, and here's another part where I welled up when Otto comes back and actually helps out, and the first one to go is Electro with getting the cure. Him holding the arc reactor and the power of the sun. Tobey drops down and in the palm of your hands. Like, you talk about the performances, Alfred Molina in that scene where he's like, Peter, oh, look at you. You're all grown up. Like it feels like not only do these characters, but like these actors, and again, maybe, Harrison, you're like, maybe I'm cynical here, but I'm sure there was a good paycheck involved in it too. But the way that they portray these scenes, it seemed like these actors were actually like really excited and, maybe grateful. I don't know, but to just have this opportunity again. And it really felt like Doc Ock was, Octavius was like, he was happy to see Peter and the fact that he's grown up, and just the slight laugh of, how are you? Like, there's probably a million things to say. Like, I'm in another we're in another universe. Like, there's this gigantic battle going on, but I want to know, how are you? There's something very genuine and sincere about that. And just, again, the callback to their conversation of, I'm trying to do better. Just Toby this Peter Parker growing up and being the mature Spider-Man, like you guys have talked about. This is where this movie just really solidifies for me how great it is these interactions at the end with giving these Spider-Mans either their redemption and Andrew Garfield's being able to save MJ, Peter, telling Doc that he's still trying to do better, like, continually. I just think they do such a good job. Brandon, I'll let you piggyback off that.
That's the part where I cried. How you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. But it just felt, I've seen some people say it, that could also be like towards the fans. Oh, you've grown up since I last saw you. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, Harrison, you've said it, like, meta involved in it. Like, yeah, like, Toby has grown up. Like, it was 2007 when his Spider-Man ended. I mean, that is,
I was 6.
Yeah, like, Brandon was 6 years old when that series ended, and Tobey Maguire, like, unceremoniously was really kind of done with Spider-Man, whether he wanted to be or not. And 15 years, almost 17 years later, 16 years later, he gets to come back. So yeah, like, geez, Tobey Maguire has grown up. He's older now. Like, there's so much involved, and there's so much real life dialogue, I feel, for the audience that grew up. And certainly some of us have, not only is he talking to Peter, but it's almost like he's talking to the audience. Like, you've grown up. Like, Brandon was 6. Like, I mean, geez, 2015 years ago, I was a much younger person. Harrison, you were a much younger person, and we've grown up, and, maybe we're all trying to do better. Maybe it's not meant to be that deep, but, for somebody who's watched these movies recently and really, Spider-Man blew up the superhero scene, there's just, for me, there's so much there with that interaction.
Yeah, I agree. There was an interview that was released with Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina, and Willem Dafoe talking about Spider-Man No Way Home before the film came out. And they were talking about why – they talked about a few things in the interview. One of the things they talked about is why they came back. And each one of them had a different reason that they came back. And no matter what, they all felt very genuine. I'm sure, again, honestly, this is what makes the world go round. I'm sure money was a part of that decision. But in the other parts of it, they really felt like they had a passion to return as these characters. And every single one of those moments really feels like that enjoyment for these characters comes across, particularly in this interaction between Toby and Alfred Molina. And I was hoping that Toby would say something like, I'm trying not to be lazy, or some reference to being lazy, but just saying I'm trying to do better, I felt like was a very honest answer from everything that Tobey Maguire went through in his trilogy, and this wiser version we have of Peter Parker. I felt that was a moment that just made me feel like, yes, this is, again, this is why I love Spider-Man.
Yeah, and we get to the conclusion of the film. Defoe comes back. Can Spider-Man come out and play? Call back to when Peter tries to call Aunt May from Spider-Man 1, and Goblin's on the other end of the phone call. And just again, the brutality of the fight between Peter and Green Goblin. It's You feel every single hit, you feel every single blow, you feel the emotion behind Tom Holland's Peter Parker about, again, when he says, I just wanted to kill you myself, and he's like, that a boy.
That a boy.
Like, oh my, like, dude, like, stop being so good. Like, you're so amazing. But man, him wanting Peter to just lose that and be that person that's like, I want to take your life and I'm going to, because you should be able to. You're basic, he's like, gods don't ask, they just take. And like, he thinks Peter should just take. Like, that's it. Like, if he takes his life, then like, okay, like, I still kind of win, because that's what you should do. You shouldn't have to stop if you want to do that. But that scene was like, man, that fight between the two of them is so good. And I do like the mature, older, knowing this will not bear the outcome that you think it's going to. Toby being the one to stop him from actually piercing him with his glider, again, I think is the right move. Especially too, because he stops the glider from piercing Norman, which is how Norman died in that universe. I think is the absolute right call, that it's Toby to be the one that stops it. I did, again, because your brain works so quickly, for a split second, I was like, oh my God, there's no way they have the balls to kill off Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man when he gets stabbed by Green Goblin. For a split second, I was like, there's no way they're doing this. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And I was like, no, like, snap out of it, idiot. They're not going to do that. Harrison, I'll let you go on the fight between Goblin and Parker.
Yeah, I mean, Willem Dafoe, again, just, he doesn't even care. Like, come on. It's so well done. Yeah, great fight. It was brutal in a scary way. That is an interesting characteristic of Peter Parker that Andrew's character mentions earlier, that he constantly is holding back. He's stronger than he normally uses, so to speak. And in the comics, you get the full force of that when you mess with his family, particularly Aunt May. And the Green Goblin, he messed with Aunt May. So, yeah, it was a good scene that felt realistic to the character of Spider-Man. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't stop himself. I was hoping that he would have learned. I mean, it's a cliche thing for the character to like pick up the death weapon and then to put it down, like, I'm glad they didn't do that, because that's way overdone. But I was just slightly like, oh man, I wish he would have decided himself. But I'm also really glad, like, I'm both disappointed and glad at the same time that Toby stopped him, because I think that's a great moment for Toby. But also that Toby gets stabbed afterwards, and that the menacing Goblin afterwards says, that was your fault, to Tom, which in a way, he's right. And I'm glad that that's there for Spider-Man to recognize, like, or Peter, particularly Tom's version, to recognize, hey, I didn't kill this person. That's good. But there are consequences because I made this choice. Although the choice was stopped, there are still consequences. And I do like that.
A good one-on-one fight is when you feel the fight. Even if like our chairs weren't shaking in the theaters with every punch, you felt every single one of Peter Parker's swings. Like when he launches up and punches the ground, if you look at that he's breaking Norman's skull. Like he was going to kill him at one point. And it's so good to just like all that anger, like you feel it in your chest. He's swinging. He gives him a power bomb, like basically on his neck. Still thinking how Willem Dafoe is doing his own stunts at this point. But my heart jumped when I saw Toby stabbed. Now, the one thing I would have changed in this scene is at the very end when he gets the serum. I wish he looked at Toby and said his line, "Peter, what have I done?" I think he really should have just looked at Toby, because for me that probably would have been another Ox scene. Just after everything, especially the relationship those two had, for him to just kind of turn and look and go, "Oh my god," like that would have been just a heart dropper right there.
Yeah, I think, again, they could have, given those two a little bit more interaction considering their history. But where I think the MCU hits a slam dunk here is Peter accepting, we've talked about responsibility, and Peter accepting his responsibility as Spider-Man and what that is going to mean, where he tells Strange, we see the cracks, Strange says, "They're coming through. I can't stop them. They're coming because they know who you are." So everybody who knows who Peter Parker is across every universe is going to come through. And he makes a decision to say, okay, you do the spell so that everybody forgets who I am, and taking the responsibility of, you know what? I am Spider-Man, and part of my job as Spider-Man is to protect the people that I care about. And the way to do that is to just be Spider-Man and not really be Peter Parker. Like, I can't do both at the moment. I have to choose which one, and choosing the responsibility to use his powers as Spider-Man to protect people, which again, I feel like is a callback to when he is talking to Stark in Civil War about, he says, I've had these powers for 6 months, and when you can do things that I can do, but you don't, and bad things happen, they happen because of you. He's really come full circle of, I have this power, and if I don't do this, it's going to be very, very bad. I have to make this decision. I think that is really, really well done. And his decision, well, first, again, the chemistry there, holy cow, when he goes to tell MJ and Ned, and he's like, okay, you're going to forget about me. And I'm sure it helps that they're dating in real life, but holy cow, the fact, and MJ's responsible. Can't we just think about that? Like, wait a minute. Like, what are we going to, can't we think about this? What will we do? We can figure this out. Let's come up with a plan. They're such good actors. It's so unbelievable how well this scene is. And her not letting Peter say, "I love you" back, because she's going to wait for him to find her again, for that to be the time that he says it. Boy, again, I sit there and say, as much as we talked about, maybe being, Harrison, you mentioned it, being sort of strung out on the MCU. I watch scenes like this, and the dialogue and the performances and everything in between, and I'm just like, boy, that when the MCU knows what they're doing, they know what they are doing. They are firing on all cylinders. They are hitting emotional beats, and they are doing it almost better than anybody in the game, at least from my opinion. So Harrison, I'll let you go first, and whatever you want to say about that little rant.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good balance where, these are the characters, and this is where their relationship has progressed to. And it's a good moment. I think that it worked more for other people than it did for me. I wasn't particularly saddened by it. Maybe it's because I really, really, really needed to go to the bathroom, and so I was waiting for the movie to end. But it's a good scene. Like I said at the beginning, this is this universe's version of Peter Parker. This is the Peter Parker that's been to space and fought Thanos. This is the Peter Parker that has this unique relationship with MJ and Ned. And this is the Peter Parker that, while he's trying to get into college, realizes he can't be both. And he has to choose, like Willem Dafoe's character, or Willem Dafoe, his in-universe name, Green Goblin, says to him, he has to choose. And so yeah, it's a good scene. Again, I'll just put it bluntly. I think it was more emotionally impactful for other people than it was for me. But I can kind of look at it and be like, yeah, although I'm not necessarily impacted by it, I can recognize the impact that it can have.
That ending also really opens up a bunch of paths. Like, can you imagine? Well, we have the college trilogy next. Could you imagine at the end of that, he finally meets back up with MJ? Just how that's going to feel at that point. And, like, what if Ned becomes a hobgoblin? Like, imagine just how that's going to be. Like, I already thought of, like, a Craven movie at this point within that trilogy. But, man, I can't imagine the scene where what if he reunites with the Avengers and he finally brings everyone back up to speed? Or because they can't leave that plot point there. Like, oh, wait to tell me you love me when you tell me when you tell me the truth again, or something like that. Like, you have something like that, I feel like you can't let that up, and that's going to be a good scene if they do it.
Yeah, I think certainly, they have a lot of opportunity with this new trilogy to go in many directions. Certainly, a hint is given here at one of the end credit scenes. But before we get to the end credit scene, Harrison, I don't know if you. I think you were saying you missed this ending part, but him getting the ending of the movie is him going to say goodbye to, well, not goodbye, but going and seeing Aunt May's gravesite. He runs into Happy there. Everybody has forgotten him, but holy cow. And again, this is where like the MCU has said like, okay, this is now Spider-Man. He has a classic blue and red suit swinging through the city. Like, I have never honestly felt more attached to Spider-Man than I did in that ending web sling through the city in the traditional suit, and really almost the MCU solidifying like, this is Spider-Man. Like, it took 3 movies, and I will gladly sit through 3 more movies based on where this ended and what I think could possibly come. But this felt like such a great ending to a new beginning of this is Spider-Man. That costume, I think, is absolutely unbelievable. I love this ending of the movie. Brandon, I'll let you talk about it first.
I want to see that suit in 4K. I want those pictures. I'm turning into Jameson. I want pictures of Spider-Man. But that suit looked so good, and it's like kind of these blurry shots where you can't focus on it, but it looked, I was like, oh man. He's going back to the classic look. It's just like, wow, it does feel like Spider-Man because he's alone in an apartment, rent's due in a month, give me rent.
Yeah, Harrison, were you able to catch the ending, or is that part of what you missed?
I missed everything with the suit. So like I saw him put down his stuff in the apartment, like put down his box, and then that's like where I ran out of the theater as fast as possible to the bathroom. Because someone had I feel so dumb. Someone had told me that the movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes, which it wasn't. And so I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, oh man, we still got 40 minutes to go. Like, I can't hold this anymore. So I run out of the theater. Literally, my wife said, as soon as you like turn the corner to go like down the hall to get to the door out of the theater, like you walk past the seats and you have to turn the corner to kind of like walk along the seats, if that makes sense.
Right.
Anyway, she's like, as soon as you turn the corner, the movie ended. I was like, oh, come on. My back was to it. I had no idea. I was making a mad dash. I was focused. But yeah, so I missed the whole thing. So I'm excited. I've tried Googling it in every possible way I can. So I'm excited to see it whenever I do. Yeah,
it's certainly great. I found it on a bunch. I found it on YouTube. I found it on TikTok where it's on there. The suit looks great. It's certainly the ending, since you didn't see it. If it's lining up, he's literally swinging through the exact same part of New York where Hawkeye is set up for the Hawkeye Disney Plus show. Like, there have been side-by-side pictures, and the rumor is that we're going, like, actually Tom Holland will be in the season finale of Hawkeye. Not as a huge scene, but that what's happening in the season finale of Hawkeye is taking place when Parker is swinging through the city. So maybe you'll get to see his costume on this episode of Hawkeye that drops.
Oh my God.
That would be sweet, because one of the things that like I've struggled with the most with Hawkeye, as fun as it is that like it really feels disconnected, especially as I was watching No Way Home. Like, we know that No Way Home kind of happens around the time of Halloween, where MJ's working. There's still Halloween decorations up, and then later we see Christmas decorations. Like, Hawkeye is happening in Christmas, and so like, how can you not even have any slight mention to when multiversal beings came to New York and started blowing up stuff? You know. So I hope that there is some type of crossover to add, at least in my mind, some legitimacy.
Yeah. So, you know, I think let's talk about the fact of the end credit scene. You came back, you were able to see that, right?
Yes, I made it back for that.
All right. So we get, and again, huge pop on the screen. We get Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock sitting in the bar because he's been transferred at the same time, which obviously that end credit scene to me confirms that the hive mind of the symbiote has traveled across dimensions, or at least its conscious mind, has traveled across dimensions and knows where the other symbiotes have been, where Venom, knows who Peter Parker is and knows that he's Spider-Man. But when the spell goes through and everybody forgets who Peter Parker is, Eddie Brock gets transported back to his universe. But we find out a small piece of the symbiote has been left behind. And I think that really is just, if you're going to if your next trilogy is going to happen, whatever they want to do with movie 1, and you could have the symbiote attaching to him at the end of the first movie, and the second movie could be him in the suit and getting aggressively more violent, or however they want to do. But man, do they, they have a setup for another trilogy with the symbiote being left behind. So, it's just an end credit scene, and it might be a while before we see anything with it in the MCU. How long of a break are they going to take on Spider-Man? Maybe not much with how much this movie is making. Who knows what they're going to want to do? But Harrison, I'll let you go first, just on that end scene, and maybe a couple thoughts on where it might go.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get some Venom suit for Spider-Man. How can you not? But what I would love more than anything is to get Agent Venom with Flash. I think that would be so interesting because we know this Flash is obsessed with Spider-Man, and now he doesn't know who Spider-Man is and might get the symbiote and want to be like Spider-Man and try to do that and become Agent Venom. I would love to get the bad version of him before we kind of get the good version of him, so to speak. I think that would be so exciting to get Agent Venom more than, don't get me wrong, I'm a Spider-Man fan, so of course the black suit with Spider-Man and Venom would be sweet, but more than that, I think it'd be fun to see something new with Agent Venom.
Part of me also wants to see, I feel like, because they have said they want to do this, like a Spider-Man versus Venom movie, because at this point, that alone, you could sell a movie on. To where you could be like, oh, hey, next movie or third in the trilogy is this big fight between Spider-Man and Venom. Look how much Venom versus Carnage made. Add in Tom Holland Spider-Man, and you're making a lot of money. But I did kind of feel I really wanted to see Tom Hardy versus Tom Holland, though. I feel like that was the one part, like, oh, come on.
Yeah, if everything stays the way it is with, that version of Eddie Brock going back to his universe and not being a part of this Earth anymore, I will, I was a little disappointed that it was like, oh man, we might not get to see the two of them, because I would love to see, that difference, especially depending on how they're going to do Venom. Because in that universe, like, Venom is huge. He's beefy. He's bulky. It's the Venom that we know.
Not Topher Grace.
Yeah, to see that size comparison of this Venom to this Spider-Man, I think would be really cool. So yeah, part of me is like, oh man, if we don't get to see Tom Hardy actually interact with Tom Holland as their respective characters, I'll be a little disappointed, but I'm sure depending on what they do and how well it's done, it won't be that big of a deal. So
yeah, they could sell, like, I could be disappointed all I want, and then later we get this big Spider-Man versus Venom fight, and then I won't care anymore. I'll be fine.
Yeah. So, Brandon, you mentioned it earlier. So, Harrison, I'm going to let you go first. As we're closing out this segment, what is your favorite scene of this movie? There's so many characters in here. Do you have, a particular one? I think maybe I do know the answer, who stood out. And do you have anybody who maybe you was your least favorite character in this movie? Like, yeah, I really wasn't a big fan.
Favorite scene is really, really hard to pick. It's just going to be the three of them together, the entire interaction. I got to narrow it down and not have something huge. To make it a small moment, it would just be them on the scaffolding on the Empire State Building. Just that entire sequence, from them having the casual conversation about organic webs, to Toby calling Andrew the amazing Spider-Man, to them struggling to work together and then working together and swinging in unison. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock showing up, that's my favorite scene. For everything that I enjoy this film to be, criticisms which I have aside, that is everything that this film should be. It's just a lot of fun. It's a pop culture event, being a pop culture event and just having a blast, because who doesn't love Spider-Man? Every generation, so to speak, in the last 20 years has had their version of Spider-Man, and this is just a celebration of all of them, and I love that. So, love that scene. Favorite character, definitely, without a doubt, as much as there are really strong ones, it is Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. He left the biggest impact on me. I remember him the most. Least favorite is going to either be Lizard or Electro. I think Jamie Foxx is fantastic as Electro, but there was just a lot of things that felt like really forced and weak in their characters. Like, oh, they're just kind of here for the flash, so to speak, so that they can be in the trailer or whatever. Maybe this is a cynic in me coming out, but their presence in the film felt the most unnecessary to me.
Yeah. So my favorite scene is going to be when Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker saves MJ. I absolutely love that. I feel not only is it a great redemption for that character, it's like a redemption moment for Andrew Garfield, and what his Spider-Man series, ended up becoming for quite some time. But certainly the reaction to Garfield after this movie came out, I mean, now it is trending to save the Amazing Spider-Man 3, that they fans now want Andrew Garfield back in some capacity. They want him to get another movie. They want him to be part of more projects with Spider-Man. So I think a lot of people share your sentiments, Harrison, where he, in a movie that has so many amazing things, he certainly has stood out to a lot of people. So him saving MJ is my favorite scene. He is my favorite character in the movie. I love seeing him back. Rewatching the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I mentioned this on the other shows, I had forgotten how much I love him as Peter Parker and how great of an actor he is in those movies. So I love every time he's on the screen. But my least favorite character in this movie is actually Sandman. The way he flip-flopped doesn't seem all that logical to me. It's, well, I just want to get back to my daughter, but then him siding with the villains, the other villains don't seem like they want to leave this universe. So if you're siding with them to kill Peter, you're not going to get back to your Earth to see your daughter. I didn't feel he was, very well written. I think his, inclusion made less sense than Electro and Lizard, just because his motivation, while I understand it, his actions based on what he wants does not line up with what he says. So that's where I stand on my least favorite character.
I agree with the Sandman. I expect for Lizard, I came in the movie expecting him not to do much. Like he was the villain, I kind of felt like would be on the sideline, which I feel like they wanted to get the Sinister Six or what they could with there. So I was like, if anyone gets the hard boot, it's Lizard. But it kind of didn't come out being like, oh, I wish I had more from Lizard. But Sandman, I want to go back with my daughter, like not as Sandman. And then he literally goes, I don't care. Like, what do you mean you don't care? Do you want to go back to your daughter or do you want to stay here? It's like, I want to go back home. Or, no, I want to destroy the thing that will send me back home. So I think for favorite character, you both kind of said Andrew Garfield. I would say this movie has a best hero and a best villain. Obviously, I won't go into Andrew Garfield because you guys both said that. But to be 60 plus years old, powerbomb someone and rock bottom through like 5+ stories as William Dafoe and also sound scarier back since like 2001 is like, it's genuinely impressive. Just how he also like kind of carries this performance among like also very great actors.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten a lot of praise for his portrayal. I think it's incredibly well done. He would really closely be a second for me, just of his dedication to the role, wanting to do his own stunts, solidifying why he was so good in the first place as Green Goblin, looking back on that, on that first Spider-Man movie. So I definitely agree. Harrison, anything you just want to, conclude with on that?
That I agree.
All right. Well, we are going to start rolling the credits here at Matt Goes to the Movies. And roll credits is where we'll talk about our reel rating, which is 1 out of 5 reels, how we overall, rating that we give this movie. Also some interesting, maybe behind the scenes or box office. And, I think we talked about, behind the scenes, like William Dafoe wanting to do his own stunts, them, all of these people being convinced to come back on, the passion and dedication that they had to wanting to honor, what came before this Spider-Man. But in terms of box office, Harrison, I know you have expressed interest in this stuff too. $253 million opening weekend. I just was reading today a $37 million Monday. People are experts are baffled by this in the coronavirus era. This movie has already surpassed all of 2019 and all of 2020 for any movie that was released in this period. In 4 days, this movie has made more money in 4 days than any movie in the past 2 years has made in its entire theatrical run. With everything going on, cases here in New York were skyrocketing for a while here. Nobody seemed to care. This has just been an amazing feat, and something we haven't seen in over 2 years at the box office, with a movie bringing this many people together. Of, I need to see this. And Harrison, before I let you talk about that, I know we talked about on an episode, would feel it's way back, I can't remember which one. Would this digital platform and the coronavirus, would streaming same day be the wave of the future? Would this effectively kill movie theaters? And I think when you have something that the fans want to see, an effective marketing strategy, if we thought cinema was dead, a movie like this proves that, yeah, well, it's nice to be able to stay home and maybe pop on HBO Max to, see something that's coming out in theaters. I don't, you can't beat the box office appeal of being in that theater.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the numbers at all. I've been really busy, but preparing for this episode while I was waiting for you to send me the link, I just quickly pulled them up on Box Office Mojo, and I pulled it up and I was like, wait, no, that's not real. Like, is this chart right? uh, it's absurd. Already, this is the number one movie domestically for all of 2021. The only movie that comes close domestically is Shang-Chi, and it's still like, I don't know, close to almost 100 million behind.
Right.
It's absurd. If we go worldwide, this movie is already in the top 6, easily in the top 3 in a few days. No Time to Die, which has been kind of praised as like the movie that saved movie theaters internationally so far in its entire run, has made about $770 million. Spider-Man is already at 630 million. Like, it's only about 100 million behind, and it's been out a few days.
And what's crazy about that, really quick too, is that's without China, who
Yeah, that's
is
crazy.
a box office juggernaut in terms of international money and what certain movies pull in. Like, this really has not been seen in years, this kind of turnout.
Oh no, it's crazy. It's really interesting to me. I'm both really, really excited by this and really, really saddened by this. And I don't know what I think in its entirety. And this is the reason that I'm really, really sad. I went and saw this on past Friday. Exactly a week. My wife and I, we went and saw it on Friday. Exactly a week before that, we went to the same theater at a similar time on a Friday night to go see Steven Spielberg's latest film, West Side Story. Steven Spielberg. Who doesn't know who Steven Spielberg is? Probably the most successful household director ever in a really classic, well-known film, West Side Story. And the turnout was shockingly different. We went to West Side Story, parking lot empty. In our theater, there's probably like 15 people. No joke, including us. 15 people on a Friday afternoon. We go and see Spider-Man. The parking lot is packed. And it had just snowed here in Utah, which people hate driving in the snow, period. Like, the theater was packed. There was more show times for this than anything was, and there were so many people showing up. And I was really, really excited by that. You know, great for movie theaters. I clearly want them to stick around, but I was also like, man, what world do we live in that Steven Spielberg can't get people to show up to movies? It was weird for me. And so I'm really torn on it, where I'm like, man, this is really, really awesome. The theater experience definitely is sticking around, particularly for Sony. They've been really strong, exclusively in movie theaters, as they like to say on all their trailers. They've been doing that this entire time, and I appreciate that. But I think that we're going to see a new mix where these big tentpole films are the majority of the box office, and something like West Side Story has a day and date release on streaming and in theaters. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, that's awesome. That allows things to have the reach that they need, but also makes me really sad that, like, we're missing an era where Steven Spielberg no longer gets people to the movie theater. So I'm very too.
Yeah, Brandon, I'll kind of pose a follow-up question. I'm wondering, with No Way Home and this massive success, because it is not far away. We're going to get Morbius very soon. And based on trailers for Morbius, it looks like it incorporates aspects of all 3 universes, which is really weird because we get Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes. We see him in the trailer. We see the Oscorp building from the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and we see a poster on the wall indicating Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, which says murderer, but then he also references Venom in his movie. So I'm wondering, No Way Home and how well this is done in this multiverse concept. Is, Morbius going to see this bump because of where is Morbius in this universe? Like, where is he residing? Because how do you have aspects of all 3 universes?
Well, first of all, it is going to get the bump. After this movie, you see all the Spider-Man, people are going to be like, oh, what happens there? Like people who weren't going to see the movie is going to be like, oh, at least they're going to get an interest in it. So that's always good. But my kind of theory was, well, first of all, they could change up the trailer because that's what they do. Like honestly, that's what they do. But I said maybe like this takes place in an area where time is just broken, especially with the second end credits trailer. What if the multiverse is broken and this takes place around the time of the second end credit scene?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a very valid point. Certainly, we could ponder a lot, and probably, 65 to 75% of it is completely wrong. But, I think they are, Morbius is, it really, because of the delays, I think actually is going to be, a much better position now coming on the heels, so to speak. I mean, it comes out January 28th. But after No Way Home, and certainly what we've seen where the MCU is splitting off, I think for this movie, the delay is really good. And I don't know if maybe some of that has lined up where they're like, geez, maybe we need to delay this movie based on what's happening. We don't want to give away too much of our hand with what we're trying to do. So, Harrison, what are your thoughts on Morbius? And, do you think that this delay is actually really beneficial because now people are going to be, even more curious? Like, I know I wanted to see this movie regardless before No Way Home, but I think maybe for the casual person, there's some more interest now.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I personally have been super excited about Morbius ever since we got that first trailer. What was it, like a year ago?
Yeah.
I think. Late 2019, early 2020, I think. I've been stoked for it. I think it's I'm glad it's being released in January. I think it's a fantastic January movie, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
I think Jared Leto is going to tear up the scenery, and I'm just excited that more people are going to go have fun. I like when people go to the movie for things that they don't exactly know. Spend any amount of time on social media, and Spider-Man No Way Home is talked about everywhere. Morbius, not so much. And I'm just excited that people are going to go experience something that isn't like the only mainstream thing. And I think that we're all going to go have a lot of fun with it. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't really know. I'm just excited to go have a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. So, let's switch gears. Let's move over to the real rating, where it's very simple. Different from the watch rating. This is where we rank it 1 to 5 reels. How do we feel about this movie? So, Brandon, I will let you go first. On a scale of 1 to 5, what is your rating for this movie?
I came out saying it was like 10 out of 10. I literally walked out of that theater and went, so 10 out of 10, right? I think, like, critic-wise, I'm going to give it like a 4.5. Honestly, it'd be like a 4.9. I love this movie. As for someone who, like, at one point kind of lost interest in MCU movies, but Spider-Man's always kind of been there. For me, just going, I'm like, okay, 10 out of 10. And now I'm excited for later because after seeing the profiles for Tobey and Andrew Spider-Man, the fact that they called Tobey Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Andrew the Amazing Spider-Man, and I said to my dad, if they name Tom like Spectacular Spider-Man, I'm just gonna be like, here's my money on the table. I'm watching every one of those movies.
Yeah, so that's a very high rating. Harrison, where do you stand? Because we didn't get a ton of time to get into that, but you did have some critical thoughts on this movie. Where would you stand on your rating scale?
Critiques of it, just real briefly, I think it has some pacing issues that while the tones of it are handled really well, I think the pacing is a little bit weak. I think characters are placed conveniently where they need to be and then quickly dismissed. Emotionally, the film, it does emotional things, but I don't find it emotional, if that makes sense. We're like Spider-Man 2, I walked away from that movie knowing I will never forget it. I watched it about a week ago, actually, for the first time, I realized. And I'll never forget that movie. And I realize a lot of that is personal, particularly with things happening in my life right now. But that felt like something that will be a part of me. where this feels like the event parts of it will be a part of me, not so much the emotional parts of it. So while I can recognize the great performances and the emotional beats, it doesn't feel resonant emotionally, while it does feel emotional. I don't know. I'm having a hard time explaining it. But yeah, those are kind of some quick things. I think it knows what it is. It knows that it's an event in pop culture and crafts an event really, really well. You got to be heartless not to enjoy this movie. If you've liked Spider-Man ever, like I said, you will enjoy this movie. And I know I'm going to buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray and probably watch it in the few days after I get it, because it's a lot of fun to watch. It's one of those films that you can confidently rewatch. So yeah, it is a very, very solid 4.
All right. For me, this is a 5. A lot of the things that you said in terms of this is an event, it's pop culture, like it knows what it is. And here's the thing. For me, I think this movie, again, I'm going to have to rewatch it. I know a lot of the times that theater experience for me just really bumps a movie because I enjoy that. I enjoy being around people that, that first night seeing it, they want to hoot and holler, they want to clap, they want to high five. I enjoy that with these movies. I think that adds something to it. So, watching it again outside of that environment, I will be interested, to do that. But for me, this movie could have gone off the rails really, really bad. There is a lot of, there was a lot of hype behind this movie. There was a lot of what will happen. Will Andrew Garfield, will Tobey Maguire show up? And if they do, how much screen time do they have? Is it just a quick little nod? I feel like they gave them enough time. I feel like the time that they had in this movie was correct. It's still Tom Holland's movie, but they do a fantastic job to me of introducing these two other Spider-Men when they need to. And for the simple fact of, I haven't felt an MCU movie. To me, this felt on par with Infinity War and Endgame in terms of the scope. And this is like, oh my God, like this is an event. I did not ever, when the MCU started, I really didn't think of like, oh, could Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield like ever come back and do something? I never thought in terms of we would get 3 versions of Spider-Man on screen at the same time. So the fact that this movie, I think, balanced that really well, it handled its tone shifts for me incredibly well. And just the pure enjoyment I get out of this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I will be, watching this again and be interested to see outside of the environment that I first saw it in, if anything changes for me. But after initial viewing, this is a 5 out of 5.
I'll just tack on real quick. Theater experience for this movie, because I had to go to the bathroom, 9.5 out of 10. If I didn't have to, 10 out of 10. It was, I agree with you. It is a lot of fun. As much as I was kind of critical in what I said about the box office numbers, there is very few things in life that I enjoy as much as being in a theater with people who are excited about a movie like I am and reacting with them. This year in particular had a lot of those that I will sincerely remember for the majority of my life, and this is definitely one.
Yeah, well, before we officially sign off here, Harrison, I do want to take an opportunity. Number one, I want to say thank you for, being on this Spider-Man journey with us at Matt Goes to the Movies, as we've reviewed, all the live action movies that have come before No Way Home, and certainly this episode now. But, take a minute here. Your show will be linked in the show notes so that listeners can hop on over, check out the Basement Binge, but talk a little bit about your show and, is there, what's coming up on the Basement Binge?
Well, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. This has been a lot of fun for me to do. My life has been so hectic for the last few weeks and ridiculously busy that it's been really, really fun to look forward to these episodes. I haven't really had a chance to produce the episodes that I would want to. But You have kept me going, so thank you. The Basement Binge is a movie review podcast, very similar to Matt Goes to the Movies. I'm actually talking about Spider-Man currently. Last week was supposed to be Spider-Man week, where every single day was going to be an episode about one of the Spider-Man films leading up to No Way Home. And then I decided to work like 70-something hours of work, and that just, you can't watch movies when you're falling asleep during the movie constantly. So the Spider-Man week has been delayed. There's going to be some 2 Christmassy themed episodes coming out the end of this week, the beginning of next week, and then the rest of the time before the new year, finishing off Spider-Man week, whatever that means now. And then at the beginning of the year, I am extremely, extremely excited to get into animation season. I love animation. I love talking about it. So I do this every year. I'm really looking forward to that. So if you enjoy those things, if you just enjoy binging movies and love talking about them, check out the Basement Binge wherever you get podcasts. But thank you, Matt, for letting me be here. It's been a blast. This has been really fun with your son Brandon too. I've never done this with him before, and it's these are just conversations. Even if they weren't recorded, it just feels like a conversation with friends that I look forward to. Like almost like when you have something planned with friends, and you look forward to it, to just sit down and be with people you enjoy being with. I appreciate you doing this and continuing the great friendship that we have. So thank you.
Yeah, I will certainly echo those statements. It's been really cool. It was, really fun to have Brandon on here with us. Certainly a different perspective. It was cool to go to the movie with him. Like he said, he's, kind of like veered off sort of with the MCU. It's kind of like, okay, like, yeah, sure, the MCU. But it was really like, oh man, we're going to see this. And again, like,
it's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's why.
Going at 10:50 at night, maybe that seems like silly to say, but like, okay, like, I like that day I worked 9 in the morning to 9 at night, come home, get situated, go to the movie, but be like totally amped up, and then come home and we're just like, well, what was this and what was that? And like, we're walking out of the theater. Like, it was super, super cool, to have that experience. And I'm also going to give him a chance here to talk about something that he does also in terms of streaming, which is really cool. So Brandon, I'll let you plug away, so to speak.
I'm somewhat of a media personality myself. I had to get that joke in there.
Great.
But I actually do like streaming on Twitch. My channel is called just Brando A1, Brando capital A1. It's more of a kind of casual, like not really scripted or structured like a podcast. More casual. As of now, I'm going through a marathon of the Final Fantasy games. So now we're starting off with probably the most popular one right now, Final Fantasy 14. We're going through Endwalker. And we're just going to finish through all the kind of main titles. So that's my like priority now. And meanwhile, on the side, we just do a kind of casual, like we'll do fighting games. We'll do like whatever's kind of hot. I'm sure when something else comes up, big game. What's another one that I was thinking? Maybe one for actually Stranger in Paradise might be one too. The next Final Fantasy game, if that goes on sale. But like, if you could just stop by, you don't need to spend anything on it. Don't need to subscribe. Because even you guys being there like means a lot. So you don't have to, but just kind of penny for your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so that'll be in the show link as well. That's attached to the Linktree page for Matt Goes to the Movies. Again, it's just kind of a really cool thing, just a very casual. If any listeners of this show, I'm sure a lot of them are into video games. It's just kind of a cool stream to just kind of chat and be super relaxed about it. So, certainly check that out. And I'm not really sure. Like, I have to, at Matt Goes to the Movies, I kind of have to I have to see what's going to happen in January. I really don't have a schedule to see what's going on. So, really just trying to, with the holiday and everything, gather. I certainly will go see Morbius. The Matrix Resurrections coming out tomorrow. I know I will, get that onto the show. And then for me, I am, Harrison, I know I can't imagine you're watching this movie. Scream is also coming out in January. I am super excited for Scream to come back to the big screen. So I know there's 3 movies there. But yeah, I don't, Harrison, I'm super pumped to get your animation month. I will look forward to that. But yeah, at Matt Goes to the Movies, I'm looking for suggestions. So listeners, interact with the Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, send an email, which will all be linked in the show notes, and let me know, if there's anything you'd specifically like to see in January, to give me some ideas. So
I have one suggestion that
I'm
I
listening.
would love. I would love to get actually two suggestions. I'd love to get your thoughts on Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat, whatever that movie is called. They need to make up their mind on the title.
They do.
And Pacific Rim. I would love to get your thoughts on those two. Ooh. Also, Brandon, whenever you do Final Fantasy 13, you've got to let me know, and I will be there on that Twitch. The one and only Final Fantasy game I've played. So I would love to watch that stream. I love Final Fantasy 13.
Let me actually look up, because I have a whole kind of schedule on how I want to do these games in order. I gotta find out where I put 13.
So as he's looking up his schedule, Harrison, I will 100% do Edge of Tomorrow. Because spoiler, I freaking love that movie.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's amazing, but yeah, figure out what you actually call that movie, because if you look at the box cover, like the DVD art, I don't even think they know what they want to call the movie.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
And also I will gladly do Pacific Rim. I really enjoy that movie. It is Rock'em Sock'em Robots with frickin' aliens. And also it would give me an excuse. Last month I upgraded to a 4K Ultra TV, 70-inch screen. So
dang.
That will give me an excuse to watch that gorgeous movie on Ultra 4K. I'll go out and probably buy the movie on 4K just to watch it for the show. So, challenge accepted, so to speak. I will definitely, I will bring those 2 movies to Matt Goes to the Movies in January.
Oh, I'm very excited.
You said Pacific Rim, and I could see a smile on his face. I was like, yeah, that's coming probably soon. Now that I think about it, knowing just how much he loves that movie.
Brandon, schedule. When is Harrison going to be able to?
What's funny enough, in terms of the 3D Final Fantasies, because it's not on PlayStation and only PC, I'm playing 13 last before I do the remasters of 1 through 6. So it's gonna be a while.
Hey, that's okay.
So we'll have to keep you posted on that. But listeners, I'm just gonna say this again. If for some reason this is the first time because you listening to the show, maybe because No Way Home is such a huge cultural event right now, you're checking out the show. Thank you. This is always really cool to do. Harrison mentioned it a little while ago. We've developed an actual friendship based on a podcast for 2 people that live in different states. It's been a really cool journey, I will call it, getting to know Harrison, talking to the point where we exchange text messages about our everyday lives. Harrison was nice enough to send me a copy of The Breakfast Club for Christmas. He sent me Logan in 1917 in 4K. It's just been something really cool, and something that, why movies are so interesting in the first place, because it brings people together. I love that aspect of it, not to sound too cliche or corny, but, movies have brought 2 people together who I can't imagine a scenario, Harrison, where we ever would meet in where we would have met in real life or somehow connected if it wasn't for movies. So to all listeners who are listening to this show, and Harrison, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but anybody who's listened to the Basement Binge, this is really cool and sometimes just odd, so to speak. I think, Harrison, that anybody would even listen to what we say. Because
I know what you mean.
But it certainly has been cool. So continue those interactions on social media and, whatever else in between, because it's been so fun to do this show and to connect with people that normally you wouldn't connect with.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm going to try and replicate what Rob does so well when he's on the show. Whoever you are listening to this episode right now, let me whisper in your ear as you scrub the dishes. When you're done with the dishes, pull your phone out and click on the link to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or an email if you're into that. Matt's got an email. And let him know what you think of the show. You can leave a review on Podchaser. It is super helpful. If you're listening on Spotify, they just added a feature where you can review right in Spotify. It takes like 5 seconds, and it helps out the show more than you could ever know. So if you enjoy this episode, leave an honest review. We really appreciate it. Let Matt know what you think of his show. Tell him how much you love it. Genuinely connecting with people over movies has formed a friendship that is fantastic. So we'd love to connect with any of you, whoever you are listening. Additionally, as you just saw, Matt is up for suggestions. So let him know what you want in January, and I know he will deliver. So you got an email if you're into that. It's mgttm. So Matt goes to the movies, just the initials, @gmail.com. Linked below. You got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. Am I, Matt?
No, not at all.
If you want, you can send him a letter. I don't know if he has a mailing address, but if you're sending him a letter, why are you listening to a podcast? Like, don't you listen to the Telegram?
Yeah, no. Listeners, just interact. It's been super cool. I mean, certainly there's been some great interactions with what we've been doing with Spider-Man. Getting feedback about the episodes, what your favorite moments have been over these movies, over this show. So as we're signing off, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, this has been another episode of Matt Goes to the Movies.